Easy people, welcome to City Extra and the new show every Monday night, 6 o'clock, the Big Steve show. Hugh, welcome my friend, how are you doing? I heard you're a bit tired from the travelling back to Dublin last night.
Yeah, listen, I need to say welcome to you first. We got the personal terms agreed, we got the contract signed, you lot, the viewers, you wanted them, we said we'd make an effort to get them. Big Steve has his own show every Monday on City Extra. And before we get into the show and talk about the day yesterday, I want you lot in the chat to show support to this show every Monday. Turn up 6 p.m. Get a brew, as Big Steve says. Hit that like button and show him support on his own channel, on his Instagram, all that stuff, because he's giving us his time to chat to us. But yeah, listen, like I said, welcome to you. And I am, man. I got back feeling sorry for myself in Dublin last night, about 1 o'clock in the morning. I wouldn't have minded if we'd won or even a draw, but no, I'm okay otherwise. The dust has kind of settled, you know what I mean? I'm over it.
I can't lie, I did have an offer from Saudi Arabia, you know what I mean? It was a big money deal, but I just found out that they don't do the mixed chicken doner kebab that I like in Saudi Arabia, so I swerved it. I've signed the deal from City Extra. You know what I mean?
Freddie makes a great doner kebab. Do you know what I mean?
There's a doner kebab clause in the contract that Freddie triggered, and that was the clincher in the deal. So we got the deal done. We're here now, Monday night, 6 p.m. And listen, we could have started on a better note. We could have gone straight into this today, celebrating a win at Arsenal. But listen, Manchester City 0, Arsenal 1. Martinelli deflected goal, 86th minute. Was we good enough? No. Do we need to improve? 100%. The fact that Rodri is missing and we've lost the 3 games he's missing is a problem. But do we have to have a meltdown? No. I've seen today online, people telling me, this is in my DMs, I'm going to name the account in a minute. Pep Guardiola should be sacked. He doesn't play offensive football. And we need to get Luis Enrique. Now, listen, this is a real account. In fact, I don't even want to name him because he's just a knob. But at the end of the day, don't panic, Blues. It is what it is. We're 2 points behind. We've had a good start this season. We've got a lot of new players coming into the squad. Doku, Nunes, Guardiola, all got to learn how to play in this system, etc., etc. Johnny Stones, vital part of the Manchester City system that we changed last season to win the treble, has been injured all season. Kevin De Bruyne, the best midfield player in the world, been injured all season. Jack Grealish, not been playing, not 100% right. And then we lose Rodri in midfield. We got beat 1-0 late on. But Huey, for you, where do you think yesterday went wrong for us? Do you think we were just unlucky and it wasn't a great game? It was petering out for a draw. And do you think, we just got hit last minute on the break there, 86th minute, deflected goal, it is what it is? Or do you think there's deeper problems than that?
No, I don't think there's deeper problems at all. I think it's circumstantial. It's easy to come out and say, no Rodri, no De Bruyne. That's the excuse. That's why we didn't win. And it's obviously a massive factor. I said this in my review, that they're the two best players in the world in their positions. You know what I mean? You take them out of any team, it's going to be a massive blow. But I was just disappointed with the overall performance, from the players. But I think if you'd have offered Pep Guardiola a draw before the game, he probably would have taken it, and I probably would have taken it, considering the circumstance we're in. But when you look at both performances from each team, I don't think for a second Arsenal outclassed us. I don't think they outplayed us. I think bar the absence of Bukayo Saka, that was them at their best. I think they brought their A game to us yesterday. And as you said, it was petering out for a 0-0. It was a 0-0 game. It was either going to be a 0-0 game or else decided by one little moment of luck. Now, on the grand scheme of things, I do think Arsenal probably deserved that bit of luck more than us. But I still walk away not panicking. I'm not stressed. I know that, we've gone to Anfield in seasons where we've won the league and been beaten. Every season we've won the league against Liverpool, we lose at Anfield and we still come up in May with the trophy. So they needed this win more than us, man. This was their Champions League final. You see, I've seen people making graphics of that goal Martinelli scored against Manchester City. They failed to let you know it's deflected, but this was huge for them. Whereas for us, it's another day at the office. So I don't like the panic. Obviously, I was frustrated. I was emotional. If you watch my match day vlog, you'll see when they scored, I was fuming. But that's the emotions of going to football games. But when I got back to the airport and I calmed down a bit and I reflected, I went, this ain't the end of the world. And I fancy just to do them when we get them in the Etihad later in the season. I really do. I don't think they are special. I still believe that Jurgen Klopp Liverpool team we went toe-to-toe with for years was a much more frightening prospect than this Arsenal team. We weren't at our level yesterday. That was just bottom line. We didn't do enough to win that game. Creativity going forward. I mean, everyone's talking about this. I'd love to know your thoughts about the creativity situation. People talking about Haaland being poor and not good enough. There's definitely a conversation there because I disagree with it. People saying Foden isn't good enough and Bernardo and this and that. Where do you stand with the creativity thing, I suppose?
Well, yesterday going into the game, my main concern was the midfield. I thought without Rodri in there, Kovacic, Rico, Lewis, Bernardo midfield, Foden coming in there and all that, would we win that midfield battle? And that was my main worry. When the game started, the midfield didn't worry me. We did really well in the midfield, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. They didn't dominate that midfield. I thought they was very conservative in there. I thought Rice played it nice and steady and calm. I thought Odegaard, they were just ticking along. I thought the midfield battle was quite, even. But the final third, we had nothing. We were absolutely toothless. And when you've got a striker like Erling Haaland, the size he is, the physicality he is, up against two centre-backs, you've got to give Erling Haaland something to go at. You've got to give a dog a bone. You can't have him up front there and no service. First of all, Kyle Walker on the right does not cross a ball. He does not cross a ball. He doesn't beat the man, don't cross it. So the right side is relatively negative. Nothing comes in from there. On the left-hand side, whoever's playing on the left gets doubled up all the time because the right-hand side is a no-go. We've not got a player in the middle of the park other than Foden that can thread a ball through. But when Arsenal pack that midfield tight and they don't let Foden turn, it's very backwards and sideways and calm. We ended up with Ruben Diaz on the edge of the box looking to dink little balls in, which didn't work. And I just think it's the service. It's the level of service that Haaland is getting. He's getting none. You know what I mean? We all know. Anyone that writes Erling Haaland off, then you're writing him off at your peril because, listen, this kid, every time he doesn't score, he's fuming. And he'll go back to basics. He'll go away now in Norway, whatever. And he's gonna be fuming. And Pep, in my opinion, will be looking at different situations. I feel like John Stones might have played more games at right back than Walker this season if he'd have been fit coming into the midfield. I actually thought when Stones came on, we looked a little bit better.
We did.
We know that Doku's very, very raw and young. And, sometimes he looks amazing. Sometimes he looks, but that's just comes with time. But Kevin De Bruyne for the creativity, we miss it. You know what I mean? We miss it. But I just thought we were toothless. I thought the Rodri thing didn't help us. We haven't got a replacement for Rodri. We haven't. Kovacic can't do it. Calvin Phillips can't do it. That's our own problem. That's on the manager. He's obviously thought that one of them two can do it, and they can't. So, I mean, we
You know what
just
the thing
don't.
with the Haaland thing is, Steve? I think people are too reactionary and they don't look at Haaland for what he is. I think people have become too accustomed to and expecting strikers in modern day football to look like Firminos and Agueros and Harry Kanes, when the reality is Erling Haaland is a specialist, an elitist finisher. He's never going, his game is not dropping deep, linking up with wingers, where he can do it. We saw it particularly in the home game against Arsenal last season, but that's because the whole team was just class that night. But Erling Haaland, when you bring it down to the fine fundamentals, he's an absolute bagsman. Right now, for me, Haaland is playing with no confidence. Why is he playing with no confidence? Because he's not getting service. Players like Haaland, they thrive off feeling like, yeah, I'm going to get a chance, or there's chances coming and I'm going to take one. So his overall game will improve. I don't like this nonsense of people coming on social media. I saw DR Sports putting up stuff. I saw Sky Sports putting up stuff saying, oh, is Haaland overrated, or is it a joke to put him in the Ballon d'Or conversation? And I'm saying the guy who scored 52 goals last season, won a treble, you're saying is overrated and shouldn't be in a Ballon d'Or conversation. They're failing to realize what this guy is for. He's a specific piece of our jigsaw. He's there to be a finisher. He's not there to be Harry Kane. He's not there to be a false nine. He's a traditional, out-and-out elite finisher. And I think people are getting reactionary. If he's not getting goals, he's just useless. It makes no sense to me. I think, yes, there are things he can improve on. No doubt, they all can. But there is also an expectation on other players to be creative to get the best out of Erling Haaland. And if you throw back to last season, same time of the season, all the way right through till about Tottenham away in February, people are saying, has Haaland chose the wrong club? Can City work with Erling Haaland? Yada, 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 yappa, yappa, yappa. Pep will find a way. Pep will get the best out of the players to get more out of Erling Haaland. I think it's too reactionary. I don't know, is it modern days of social media that does this, but I don't know if you've seen it, but it frustrates me because this is Erling Haaland we're talking about.
Well, listen, we know he's the top of his game. We knew there was going to be a point where at some point he might have a few games without scoring. As long as Man City fans don't get on his back, the last thing any of these players need now is us getting on his back. I know it's not the proper fans. I know we're all together as a fan base and that. There's the odd knobhead knocking about on social media that starts to stir shit up. If you see any of that nonsense, shut it down because we don't need it. Last season, myself coming out of Nottingham Forest 1-1, I thought to myself, we ain't good enough to win this league. Pep Guardiola went away, came up with a plan of the 4 centre-backs, and we won the fucking treble. We're 8 games in, yeah? We've had a better start than we probably anticipated. The only player that's let us down in the last few weeks, and I'm sure he'd admit it himself, is Rodri. Mm-hmm. If you go in for a tackle and get sent off because you're late, okay, you mistimed it. I can handle that. You go around choking people, then, you know what I mean? It's silly. And I'm sure Rodri's going to come back with a bit of fire in his belly and think, you know what, I'm not doing that again. But speaking about sending offs, yeah, I thought personally that Kovacic was a lucky boy. I did.
Mm-hmm. I said that in my blog. I said he needs to calm down. He's in trouble.
And when he's on a yellow card, the way it was a yellow card, I was thinking second half, he's going to be a liability because even if he pulls someone down or somebody breaks away from him, luckily he stayed on the field. But what do you think of Kovacic's performance yesterday? Do you think he can do that Rodri role, or do you think he's just not that man?
It's tough, isn't it? We're so used to Rodri, who, as I said already, he's the best. Rodri's the best in the world at what he does, and we're used to that. He's so consistent. We see it week in, week out. So inevitably, when Rodri's not there and someone else steps in, it's not going to be what we're used to. It's not going to be the standard that we're used to seeing week in, week out, and it's going to have an impact on the team. I think Kovacic is a very good footballer. I think he has an important place in this team, but naturally Kovacic plays higher up the pitch. That's what he does. He likes to be slightly higher up the pitch. So when he's called back to be a number 6 and being, change his kind of mentality going into a game, it's going to be hard for him. I think he was a bit maybe overwhelmed yesterday. I don't know what, you were in the stadium yesterday. It was loud, mate. Those Arsenal fans, they were hungry. Like I said, it was their Champions League final. I don't know what it was for Kovacic. I do rate him, but I don't think he's a Rodri replacement. I don't think he's a Rodri substitute. I think he's just Kovacic and he needs to play higher up the pitch. So I don't know. I mean, it's a tough one. It's a tough one because when we play the way we did yesterday, you can kind of analyze everyone's game and you can say what you think of them and you start criticizing things that maybe you don't need to just yet. But I suppose, where did you think it went wrong overall? I've seen people calling out all sorts of players. People saying we got rid of Gundogan and Mahrez to bring in Doku and Kovacic, and what a downgrade, and people losing their head.
Are we back?
Are we back? You're back now. You're back now.
I had a power cut then.
Yeah.
Everyone went back. Yeah.
So where you think it went wrong yesterday overall?
I just think another 5 minutes and that's a draw. I think we're having a totally different conversation. We're saying how well we set up without Rodri and we've got a point. It was just unfortunate the way it happened. But the more worrying thing is we have the best striker in the world and there's no service for him. And there's none. And I don't mean get down the line and spam crosses in. I don't mean that. But I just mean, why didn't Jack Grealish play? Jack Grealish holding the ball in the final third. Jack Grealish getting fouls, free kicks.
I was going to ask you about that, Steve. What did you think, I suppose, before the game when you saw no Doku or no Grealish? Did that concern you?
Do you know what I thought? I thought he's more concerned about the midfield battle and we're going very narrow to pack out the midfield. That's what I thought. And I think we sacrificed our offence for defence. And I think that Arsenal was similar. They thought they've got no Saka, and they didn't really push it. No team did. It was sort of that middle ground where everything was sort of going on. There wasn't a lot of goal-to-goal action. Nathan Ake had a great chance. He should have scored. I think they had one. Somebody cut in Nketiah, curled it well wide. And other than that, there wasn't a lot happening. Haaland barely had a touch. Like you say, he was wrestling around with people. He did get one touch edge of the box where he tried to bring it onto his foot to shoot and he slipped. And so it was frustrating all round. I just feel that he's got to look at that game and think Arsenal were there for the taking. If we'd have had a little bit more offensively, I think we could have won it. But
I think it's easy to say, but I think if we even just had one of Rodri or Kevin De Bruyne, I think we would have won that game. I think it was fine margins. And you throw a world-class player in there like either of them, I think we win it. I really do. I think both teams looked like they were kind of setting up just to not lose. I want to do the super chats first, and then I'll ask you your thoughts about Arsenal. But just in brief, they didn't amaze me. Anyway, we'll do a quick few of these super chats, and then we'll talk a little bit about Arsenal and what we think of them so far this season. So don't be that guy with the 9.99 says we shouldn't have loaned out Perone and kept Phillips. Pep shouldn't use Walker to provide width. Let's go back to using wingers on both flanks and go back to a 4-3-3, then a 4-2-3-1 we use now. Well, you're kind of saying that about Kyle Walker, aren't you? You're not mad about him bombing up.
Listen, I like Kyle Walker, right? And I don't mind Kyle Walker, and I'm glad he signed a contract. But all I'm saying is last season, when we switched to the 4 centre-backs and Kyle had to sit out a little bit, we won the treble. We looked better without Kyle on the right. Kyle, he fakes that cross. He doesn't cross it. Haaland's already made a run. Has to check back. I just think it's getting a bit predictable out there on the right-hand side. And as far as he says about Perone and Phillips, Perone is very young to throw him in there. I don't know. And Calvin, listen, we all wish Calvin well, but we're starting to think now that maybe Calvin isn't that guy.
There you go. I agree. SAI says, yes, Steve, Hugh, therapy session going great. Listen, SAI, there's no better man to have a therapy session with than Big Steve. He always knows what to say. Amar as well. Big up everybody with the super chats, by the way. There's loads coming in. Can't thank you enough for all your support. Amar says, I trust Pep blindly, always finds a solution. Well, there's a couple of super chats kind of referring to that coming up now in a second, that we seem to kind of have this conversation the same time every year, and then we all know the results at the end of the season. So the overall point of what we're saying here is not to panic. LB1998 says, we need Palhinha. He has potential to be a Rodri. Do you think there's anybody in world football, Steve? Just open-ended question. If I said to you, here's the checkbook, you pick whoever you want, they're going to be your Rodri backup. Take some weight off Rodri so he doesn't have to play 60 games a season. Is there anybody you say is that person?
You see, your problem is the word backup. Which elite player wants to go to a team to be backup? If he thinks he's good or he's good enough for Rodri, he's going to want to play. I think it's a case of, I think Romeo Lavia got away because I don't think we thought he was ready for that role, but it turns out he probably would have been a better option than Calvin. But I think there's got to be a youngster out there who we can sort of get in, and he can basically say, look, you need to go and shadow Rodri for the next 2-3 years and get to where you need to be. And I think there'll be a youngster out there who think, well, this is my position. I'm playing with the best. I want to do that. Manchester City must have people out there, scouts out there looking for these players. I mean, Brighton again, players against Liverpool, Balibé in midfield or whatever he's called, looks fine. Adingra that scored looks a player. So there's these players out there. It's just a case of getting them in. But we do need something because I don't think the ones we've got can do it.
Well, Rodri was that kind of player talking about, wasn't he? We thought when we had Fernandinho in his prime, who can do what Fernandinho does? Rodri comes in, and I think it's fair to say he probably does it better now. Pat Bateman with the $5 says, we will use these losses as motivation. All these other club fans can have their moment, but I truly believe we will be holding the trophies come June. I think that's the best way to look at it. Like, what reason do you have to doubt Pep Guardiola or to doubt what we've achieved over the last few years? There's always blips along the way, and you just can't panic. You can't be reactionary. There's so many other fan bases. Like, if Arsenal had lost that game to us yesterday, they'd be going crazy online. We can't compete with City. That they've already won the league. We're 8 games in. You need to calm down and see where we are in a couple months' time. Nathan Gray, we seem to have this chat yearly. That's what I'm saying, Nathan. That's what I said a few minutes ago. This time every year. Couple blips along the way. People start questioning Pep's tactics. People start questioning certain players. It always ends the same way. And you have to be confident it'll be no different this year. There's fucking loads of super chats coming in. The show's going to go on for ages. But listen, big up everybody for the super chats.
Get them in, man. Get them in. Don't worry about it. There's no rush, man. It's therapy. We need to get it off our chest.
If you have anything you want to get off your chest, fire one in, and me and Big Steve will share our thoughts with yours. Jason, what about Vardy stepping into the Rodri role? That's actually not a bad shout. Guy has class and can dribble out of tight spaces. He's a defender, so he can shut things down. What do you think?
I said it on a podcast last week. I feel like Guardiola can play in that role. Big, strong, powerful, good on the ball. It's something Pep's going to deal with. He's going to sort it out. Listen, we've been in this situation before, like the super chat says. We've got the best manager in the world. If the best manager in the world cannot come up with a solution to a problem, then we're fucked. But he will do. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to say is, everyone needs to just chill out. We don't want to lose any game, especially not to Arsenal. We've won 12 of the last 13 in the league against them. They finally got one over the line. Fair play to them. But this could work in our favour a little bit. The reason I'm saying that is, last season when they all got gassed and too cocky, they fell flat on the face. This win might make them gassed and too cocky again. I'm all up for that, mate. If they want to go down that road again, no problem, because that rubbed this football club up the wrong way and got us a bit angry. And last season, we hunted them down and we took the league. And like you say, we're 8 games in. The celebrations in the stadium, I thought they'd won the league. I was waiting for the trophy to get wheeled out. You know what I mean? All them scruffs behind the net in fucking Primark T-shirts, black ones, they were getting all angry and aggressive with Big Steve and spitting at me and that and throwing bottles of Prime at me. It is. I only went like that. We've won the treble. I only said we won the treble, and they all got upset, and that the police had to move me on. And then the best chant of the night that the Arsenal fans could come up with when Big Steve was getting interviewed was, "You're just a fat Guardiola." So I'm taking it. I'm taking it. I've been called a lot worse than a fat Guardiola. So Arsenal, I appreciate the love, man.
That's a compliment. That's a compliment if you ask me, man. A fat Guardiola is not the worst thing in the world to be. Good-looking guy, Pep. Red John, only 4 total shots for the entire 90 minutes. Even Sheffield had more shots when they lost against Newcastle at 8-0. It was a rubbish performance from Man City.
Final third, yeah, we were toothless, man. Toothless.
This is it, Red John, man. This is it. This is the conversation, the therapy that we're having. Why aren't we getting more shots on target? But we're trying to come to some conclusions. Big up Martin from the Mancunian Way. Martin will be on the show here at 8 p.m. tomorrow night. We're doing a panel show. I've got a few new faces locked in as well, so do tune in tomorrow at 8 p.m. Martin with the £10 says, bad day at the office. Both teams didn't want to lose. Pep tried something, it didn't work. We've Stones back now, Rodri back. No CDM can do what Rodri does. That's the problem, as they will want the first team. That's kind of what Big Steve's alluding to, isn't it? Saying that if you're to go out and find a world-class backup, they're not going to want to be a backup, are they? Because they're going to, if they're that good, they want to be playing first-team football week in, week out. So who's willing to make that contract, that compromise? Who's willing to come to City to compete with Rodri? Not many, but big up Martin for the super chat. I'm looking forward to chatting to you tomorrow. We'll chat about it again. Huang says, hello, Hugh and Big Steve. I'm personally not panicking over this. Being here before, Pep will probably use the break to find solutions to the problems he is facing. I would love to be on the channel. Well, that's kind of the attitude, really, isn't it, Steve? It's kind of what we're saying all along, not to panic.
Not panicking. We don't need the panickers. I get people are going to panic. I do get that. I mean, there's a lot of the younger lads always seem to have a bit of a wobble in that, but we just really not got to panic. We're in a fantastic situation as a football club. We're watching great football with great players. It can't always be sunshine and rainbows in a season. It don't work like that. There's always going to be a time where we're all going to have a wobble. We're all going to think, has he made the right decision? Has he made the right signings? But we just got to stick with our man. We've got to stick with the manager, stick with what he's deciding to do. And listen, we've been in Champions League semi-finals and gone out after and needed 1 minute to hold on and gone out. We've got beat off Lyon. We've got beat off Monaco. We've been down these Southampton in the League Cups, all these little situations. But look at the positives that we've got. And at the end of the day, we've just got to realise that we can see the problem. Pep can definitely see the problem. So yep. I'm expecting a reaction after the international break. Last international break last season, when we lost to Brentford, we came back and we put it right. So I'm expecting him to come back and put it right.
Listen, I think it's okay to be a bit emotional, and then, you know, directly after a game to be a bit kind of like, oh shit, you know what I mean? That wasn't great. What does this mean? But it's important then, you know, when the dust settles to fully assess the situation and realize there's no need to panic. Listen, I admit it. I said it on my review yesterday. I get emotional. You saw when the goal went in on my vlog for people who watched it. I was fuming. I was livid. Left the stadium, got the bus from Islington to Luton Airport. I was sitting in the bus going, damn, this is awful. Then I got to the airport and I was like, it's really not that awful. You know what I mean? No. 8 games is very different to 38. And then I remembered how we've done things over the years. So listen, you're allowed. Football's an emotional game. You're allowed to feel the emotions. But when it all comes back down to earth, you have to remember who we are and what we're capable of doing. So big up. Marshy Boy with the 10 months says, it was a poor performance, but we know that Pep and City will turn it around, as these performances can help us learn from it. Well, that's what Steve's kind of saying, isn't it? That like, maybe this is a bit of a kick up the arse. Maybe this is a bit of a motivation taker that we can use going forward. Like, we've got a huge month coming up in October, or for the remainder of October. Brighton at home won't be easy. That they turn up with their A game, the Etihad, they'll give us a good game. And then the big one at the end of the month, of course, United away. So we just have to get ready, man. We just have to get ready. And then last one, Jerry McHugh, the 999 says, remember when Arsenal won the league in January? Cool story, bro. Relax. This team will be there at the end. Bank it. That's the spirit, Jerry, man. That's the spirit.
I just want to know what the chat thinks as well about this. I know we all thought in our head that Phil Foden might be the man in the middle to take over the Kevin De Bruyne role. But as we've seen against Wolves, as we've seen against Arsenal, if they pack that midfield out, there's very little room for Phil. And he's very, very ineffective. Does Phil Foden... We need to find a position for Phil. Because people say to me on podcasts, Phil Foden, you know, he's not that good. He's not had this good season. He's not had that, but I don't know where his best position is. For me, I always wanted to see him in the middle. Some games he looks fantastic, but in games like that, for me, you're looking at Phil Foden to get the ball in tight spaces and create something. He's got to find a way to create something. I thought he was isolated, pushed backwards. The ball was going backwards all the time. Is Phil Foden a wide man? That is what I'm going to say. Does Phil's future lie on the wing? Do we have to look somewhere else for the Kevin De Bruyne creativity? Because as we've seen in these last 3 games, he's not done an awful lot, Phil. Against Forest at home, he scored. Yeah, that's great. But against teams that want to pack that midfield, especially when we've got no width, do you know what I mean? There's no space in there. It's literally compacted as anything. What do you think about Foden? Is he better in the middle? Do we persevere? Or, you know, is he the wide man? Like against United at home last season, 6-3, had Grealish and Foden on the wings and scored hat-trick and that.
See, he's such a gifted footballer that I think Foden, at his best, when he settles in somewhere, can play any role. I mean, I don't know about you, but for the last 10 years, I've been watching Phil Foden. You know, with the City Plus subscription, you get to watch the underage games when they're playing FA Youth Cup and that. And I used to watch some of those games when Phil Foden was playing with the likes of Sancho and Brahim Diaz. And Foden used to play in the middle for the underage teams, you know, EDS, under 18. And he used to absolutely run the show. Like, he was levels above everybody else. Tiny little skinny boy, but he was taking the piss out of defenders, creating chances out of nothing. So we know it's in there. I'm not saying because you can do it at underage, you can do it at first team level. There's a big contrast in demands and quality, but I believe it's in Phil Foden. I said at the start of this season, I want this to be the season Phil Foden imposes himself. You
know what I mean? To just pick a position though and make it that his own. What I'm saying is, one, he gets a little bit of a run in the middle, then he's out wide again. And sometimes he's on the left, sometimes on the right. I'm saying, does Pep need to say, right, you're going to be a central midfielder and we're going to mould your game around this position? Because I just feel like he doesn't even know where his best position is at the minute.
I would like to see when Kevin De Bruyne is back. I like the idea of seeing what a Rodri, De Bruyne, Foden midfield looks like. Do you know what I mean? Where the full expectation of creativity isn't on Phil Foden, and the kind of the weight of the world's not on his shoulders because you have Kevin Rodri beside you. Because as of right now, with no Kev particularly, it's kind of like, well, Phil Foden, you need to fill those boots, and it's a big ask for someone to just go from being a wide man who we know is a great footballer into, right, you're now our chief creator with no Kevin De Bruyne. So when Kev gets back, I'd like to see that, but I'm with you. He needs to nail down a position, whether that means having a conversation with Pep or whoever and saying, where's best for me? Where do you want me to try and nail down? And work on that, because Phil Foden, he's too good to go through his career being known as the really good footballer, but you're not quite sure where he's best played, if that makes sense.
And on the other side, we've got the Jack Grealish conundrum. I know there was a lot of players puzzled yesterday why Jack didn't play. I said on a podcast, I'd love to see Jack Grealish play in the middle. I think Jack Grealish in the middle of the park, winning free kicks, being able to go left or right, keep the ball moving all the time. He can shoot. I'd love to see him in there, but I don't think Pep even that enters his thought. I think he's like, this is your position wide left. You've got to stay out wide. I was talking to the analyst at City the other day, and he explained a little bit to me about Grealish's role, and it's all about dragging players over to Grealish. So if Grealish has got 2 or 3 men that go to him on that side, that is exactly what Pep wants. And it's Grealish's job then to get the ball inside quickly. And we've got the overload because a lot of players are on the left-hand side. That's what he was explaining. When he explained it to me, I understand it. It's not the best to watch from a fan point of view because we're screaming to cross it or to cut in and shoot. Pep doesn't want that. He wants Jack to drag men out wide. You look at Alvarez's goal against Leipzig. Jeremy Doku dragged 3 players to him, and then Jeremy flicked it inside to Alvarez, who had time to control it and curl it in the top corner. Jack Grealish, big game, Arsenal. Last season, he starts, he scores. Why is he not playing?
Well, it's. I always say this to people who complain about Jack, saying 100 million and he doesn't get goals or assists, and Doku's come in. And I want to talk about the Doku versus Grealish manufactured debate that people have made up, but Grealish's role, it's extremely unrewarding. It's a dirty, unrewarding role in this team because he came as this extravagant, really technically exciting to watch player from Aston Villa. People thought that's what we're going to get at Man City. He's going to take on fullbacks. He's going to curl them into the top corner every time, and happy days. It's exciting football. Pep has a specific, unique role for Jack Grealish in this team. It's probably not what Jack Grealish wants to do every week, but he's good at it and it works. And that's why he was an integral part of the treble team last season. So I think you can appreciate 2 players at once. They both offer different things. And I will ask you about that in a sec. There's 2 more super chats that just come in. Big up everybody, by the way, for the super chats. The support tonight has been absolutely class. I'm really glad you guys all love having Big Steve on the channel, because I love having Big Steve on the channel. And a reminder, it is every Monday at 6 p.m. Win, lose, or draw. Big Steve will be here either with me, or he'll have his own guests, or he'll be on his own if he fancies it. So if you don't want to send a super chat, just hit the like button. Free to do. 500 of you in the building. Unreal. Smash a like. Subscribe if you're new around here. And we'll keep it moving. Ika Gang says, overdue humbling. Come on, you Gunners. Nice one, mate. Um, right, thanks for the super chat, as they say in the Big Six. Red John, be honest. Currently, no one out there that could replace Kevin De Bruyne, not even Foden. A brilliant player, but I'm still clueless what Foden's real position is. It's kind of what we're talking about, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people feel like that with Phil. I think probably Phil feels like that, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd say it does. Another one just come in from Martin again. This thing on the wingers, Pep won't give up control, and Jack's role is exactly as you said, Steve. At last, someone else said it. Thank you. I wanted to mention what you said about him playing. I watched one of your own videos recently, Steve, after a game, and you gave that opinion that you'd like to see Jack playing the kind of 10 or midfield. And I agreed. I was like, I'd love to see that because he can carry the ball. We saw it a lot through last season. There's something so beautiful about Jack Grealish dropping deep and carrying the ball, and there's defenders jump in on top of him, trying to foul him, and then he'll release someone. I think it's an obvious option, tactic that Pep should at least give a crack. But I think you're right. I don't think he fancies it. I want to ask you about the Doku Grealish thing because it's an ongoing debate on the channel here, on social media. It seems as if people believe if you like Doku, you have to hate Grealish. If you like Grealish, you don't rate Doku. Where do you stand? I think it's mental.
Do you know what it is? This is what it is, right? We all love a footballer that gets the ball, goes up against a fullback, couple of step overs, goes left, goes right, shoots, crosses, whatever. We love them footballers. They make you get off your seat. You know what I mean? We used to say he's a footballer that gets you off your seat. When you've watched Jack Grealish for 70 minutes, recycle the ball, pull left, come inside, knock it around, not have any shots, drag men left, drag men right, create space, and not do an awful lot of offensive work. And then he comes off the pitch and you bring on Jeremy Doku, who first time gets the ball, brings it down, rogues the fullback, crosses it. People instantly think Jeremy Doku should be playing all the game, but he can't. You look at West Ham, the goal came from Jeremy Doku. He miscontrolled it. They broke on us. He didn't get back. They scored. You know, the goal at Wolves, Neto. Jeremy was up his arse running and then gave up. Ake couldn't commit to the tackle because he was the last man. He got round him and scored. Jeremy Doku and Jack Grealish are on the same team, people. We're the same. We're all the same. Jeremy's a different option than Jack. There's going to be games where Jack will outperform Jeremy, and there's going to be games where Jeremy outperforms Jack. But Doku at the minute is an impact player. He comes off the bench. He's young. He's learning the system. He can't do what Jack can do. He can't sit out there and hold that line and not take anyone on. That's not his game. And Jack can't do what Jeremy does. Jack hasn't got that explosiveness. So we just need to relax. Let's not compare players. Let's trust the manager to use them at the right time. And I just think we're only scratching the surface with Doku. I think he's very, very new. He's very early in his career. And I think he can only get better.
I said this yesterday to Amos beside me in the stand in the away end. I said, I agree with you. First of all, I think Doku has the makings of an electric player. You know what I mean? The kind of player that used to get us excited like Leroy Sané. But he's just not used to the tempo of the Premier League yet. You know what I mean? Sometimes his decision-making slow. You see he gets the ball at his feet and he's kind of thinking, will I take him on or will I go back and be safe? And sometimes that's his downfall because at this level, you need to be rapid with your decision-making. It's quite clear he has the ability to go really far. And it's perfectly normal to take a little bit of time to get used to the tempo because with all due respect to Stade Rennais and Ligue 1, it's a lot lower intensity and pace to the Premier League. So you just have to let Pep do his thing with Jeremy Doku. And I think you're spot on. They both have different roles in the team. And I've said this, and some people couldn't accept it. I think most people on our channel now, thankfully, do. You can appreciate them both for what they offer. They can both impact the same game positively. Like I said after the Leipzig game, Jack Grealish, unrewarding work. He did what we're kind of talking about. The last thing you want to see as a tired defense after 75 minutes or 75 minutes is Jeremy Doku coming on the pitch. That's not what you want to see. So both of them can have an extremely positive impact in the same game and the same team. They're both Blues. They're both wearing this shirt. So we got to support them, man. Ashley with the 5 says, hi, guys. I feel that our problem to resolve this season is who do we have outside of Haaland and Alvarez able to get us consistent G&A without Kevin De Bruyne?
He is right a little bit with the fact because you take away Gundogan and you take away Mahrez, there's 20 goals there you're taking away. They've got to be found again from somewhere. You look at Kovacic, he ain't going to get Gundo numbers. You know, we're not comparing him, but he ain't going to chip in with them numbers. You look at Núñez, he ain't going to get them numbers of Gundo. And then you look at the wing situation, and maybe Bernardo can hit them numbers if he plays out there. Maybe Phil can, but yeah, I mean Alvarez is another one. People were saying to me, we should play Alvarez up front on his own. We've done that before. Alvarez's first touch is not the greatest at the minute. His second touch is usually a tackle. But Alvarez is very, very dangerous. But sometimes he doesn't do an awful lot in the game. You know what I mean? He's not yet that complete player. This is his first real breakout season. Last season, he was used as a bit part player. This season, he's getting more confidence and he's learning. I just think we speak about Manchester City towards the end of the season. We talk about rhythm. And I just think we need to relax, because when that rhythm comes and you've got Jeremy coming off the bench on fire, Núñez, who's been bedded in, you've got Alvarez, who's bedded in, you've got Haaland ticking again. That's when we get going. All we've got to do now is make sure we end this blip, get back on the horse, carry on winning games, make sure we're in and around that top two come the business end. If we're within touching distance of anyone, or we're one or two clear coming into the last 10, we know what happens.
Speaking of the business end, the last kind of 10, Arsenal, are they that team from what you've seen so far this season? Yesterday, what do you make of them?
Well, I tip Liverpool pre-season on the overlap, purely just that's my opinion. I've seen a couple of sides to Arsenal. I've seen a couple of games where they look pretty impressive. I've seen Fulham go there and get a draw. I've seen Tottenham get a draw. I've seen them get beat at Lens. And what I've seen against City, I wasn't overly impressed. Yeah, they got the win. They got the 3 points. Well done. But we've played them twice. Both games have been literally minutes away from us beating them in the Charity Shield. So they got a last gasp one, and then they won on pens. And then in the league, they got the goal late on, and it stunned us a little bit. So I'm not overly worried about them. If they'd have flopped us 3 or 4 at the Emirates, then maybe I'd say, you know what, they're looking frightening. But I'll be honest, I'm more concerned about Liverpool when I look at them. I think Liverpool are only maybe in January signing off, kicking on a little bit, and that's what worries me. I just hope that we've got our shit together by then.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Liverpool one. And I did say that before the start of the season. I said on the Big Six show, I said we were kind of doing our top 4 predictions, and I said I think Liverpool will finish above United in the top 4. So whether that's third or second, I don't know. I picked City obviously to finish first, but I said I think Liverpool are a problem, considering they signed Szoboszlai, McAllister, they've added to that midfield, so they're definitely one to watch. But in terms of Arsenal, like I said at the top of the show, I don't think they outclassed us. They didn't frighten me. They didn't outplay us massively. So we'll just have to see how they get on. They might make a couple of signings in January too.
Somebody in the chat said, "What about the mighty Spurs?" Well,
yeah,
listen,
actually,
Spurs, they get a lot of shit, man, over the years, but they're doing all right. Listen, you never know. You just never know. They look like they've got a good team spirit. They look like they've gone in a different direction without Kane. I did watch them against Luton. If Luton could finish, then that might have been a different story. But listen, they're up there, man. Why not? They're doing all right. Doing all right. But it takes a lot. These teams, it takes a lot. We've seen it where they get giddy early doors and then they fade away. If you're there or thereabouts, last 10 games, you've had a good season. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I like Spurs. I'm sure I was a big advocate for Big Ange last season when Toby was looking for a new manager, and he laughed at me, but what they say, don't laugh too soon. Dare to go there. Did you guys think taking Rico off was a mistake like I did? Thought the game changed a bit when he came off. Thought he played well. What'd you make of Rico yesterday?
I thought he was okay. I thought his game at Leipzig, he was brilliant. Brought a lot of energy popping up in the middle. It was a tough game in there. You know what I mean? It was tough. Like I say, we struggled at parts we had a lot of control of the ball, but we wasn't getting out in the final third. There was nothing really happening. Rico's another one still learning. He's played at right back. He's played in midfield. I think he's a great little player. Mancunian lad as well.
You know a bit, don't you? You chat to him sometimes.
I speak to him a lot, yeah. I've spoke to him for a few years, and he's a humble kid. And he's a real nice guy, and it's great to see him doing well. I just hope that another player that he needs to find his position where we play him. But it was hard for him. I thought in there, you know what I mean. I thought it was hard, but I think Rico Lewis is a permanent part of the Man City squad now for the next several years. So I think Rico only gets better for me.
Yeah, we just gave him a new contract, didn't we? So Pep obviously has massive faith. Like to see young players like that get given lengthy extensions from Pep Guardiola, it's a massive showing of faith because he doesn't hand those out easily, Pep Guardiola. So yeah, listen, regarding yesterday, I'm kind of over it. I think the international break is probably coming at a good time for City. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of glad that there's a break now. You know what I mean? 3 domestic losses in a row. Let the players go. Focus on their internationals, freshen up a little bit, let Rodri come back. And then we've got a massive month ahead, I suppose.
No, you're right. We go away, have a think about what happened. I think Pep will go away and have a think. I think it's a good little time for him. I'm sure Pep will want him back on the training ground ASAP, start putting things right. Rodri's back. We've got a Brighton team coming to the Etihad who are a very, very, very good side. Do you know what I mean? We've got to be very careful against them. But yeah, just reset. You know, we've had the first little mini quarter. We've done okay. We're there or thereabouts. 2 points behind. Considering it's a crisis, we're 2 points behind. Champions League, we're doing well. It's just a case of getting people fit. Bernardo's back. Stonesy's back. We need Kevin De Bruyne back, and we need to just get all the boys back, in my opinion, and then reset and go again.
I want to ask you about transfer business because there's ongoing discussions about whether the squad's a bit light in terms of depth. Would you think it's a good idea to go out in the January market and go for someone? I've seen whispers that City are going to try and go and get Paqueta again in January. I don't know what you think about business.
Listen, I think he was the number one target, but I think with this betting allegation thing hanging over his head, I don't think City would pull the trigger on it. But if that's all gone away and it's all sorted out, he's a great player. You know, when we went to West Ham, I watched him in the midfield and you can tell he's got it. You know what I mean? I was speaking to a West Ham cab driver today in London, taking me to the station, said the same thing. City very rarely go out in January and buy. I think if they can find a solution for Calvin, because it's clear he's not going to play, if they can find a solution for Calvin, frees up a few funds, or West Ham are interested in Phillips and we do something there, then maybe. I'd take him tomorrow, to be honest.
Yeah, I rate him. I think Lucas Paqueta, he's a creative spark. You know, like we spoke about in the show here, creativity. It's a big conversation for City fans right now, and he's a creative player. But yeah, listen, we lost yesterday. International break now. The main takeaway from this show, people, from myself and Steve, is not to panic. It's not to panic. 8 is very different to 38. Nothing was won or lost yesterday. Although if you're in the away end coming out, you would have thought they'd won something yesterday. The celebrations were wild, Steve, weren't they?
Oh, well, listen, the celebration, it's a mentality issue. Listen, Arsenal beat Manchester City. They've got a right to celebrate, right? But the way they celebrated, it was a bit mad. And all I'm going to say is, listen, that might come round and bite people on the arse. Celebrate all you want. It's 3 points in October. But you might have won a little battle, but you haven't won the war. And we've been in the war before. And we've won many a war, you know, with teams better than this, a lot better than this. And I do believe that we'll get the job done. We just got not to panic. Don't let social media take over and everyone start talking about rivalries and, you know, getting on our players' backs and stuff. We've just got to be positive, have a break, and then get ready for the Brighton game.
That's it. I like that phrase. You may have won the battle, but you've not won the war.
I've got a little bit. It's my first show, yeah. A good friend of mine, and Huey knows him, Nigel Gregory.
Yeah.
He's written a book, yeah. This book, To the Blue Moon and Back. Nigel's travelled all over the world watching Manchester City for years and years. And he reckons they've worked the mileage out and he could have gone to the moon and back. So this book is about his journey from Division 2, 70s, all the way up to the treble. It's available on Amazon. Loads of people at Christmas, you don't know what to get your dad for Christmas or your granddad. And trust me, your dad don't want any socks and he don't want any fucking duds. And your granddad don't want any duds. So go on Amazon, search up To the Blue Moon and Back, yeah? This is the best Manchester City book I've ever read. Go out there, get that your dad at Christmas, and your dad will be buzzing his spuds off when we're top of the league at Christmas reading that. Get out there. And if you look on the bottom of the book there.
Who's that? Who's that?
Big Steve is on the bottom of the book. So
that's Fat Guardiola right there.
About Fat Guardiola is on the book. If you want a proper book about Manchester City and you want to learn about the mad games in the past, all the mad things that have happened, loads of quirky stories, he's been all over the world, that's the book for you. So there you go. Big up Nigel. That's my shameless plug. This was Manchester City, Big Steve's first ever show on City Extra. Please hit the like button. Please share the stream to all your friends, Man City groups, WhatsApp groups. And the message from me is, listen, don't panic. A load of scruffs in Primark T-shirts behind the net will not be celebrating that league title in May. Let me tell you that. Anything else you want to add, Hugh?
You've absolutely smashed it. Primark T-shirts, man, that gets me. But yeah, listen, Steve, you're an absolute legend, mate. I hope there were 600 in the building at one point. I hope all of you enjoyed the first Big Steve show. Every Monday, 6 p.m. He'll be here with me on his own. He wants to bring on his own guest. This is Steve's hour. He can do whatever the hell he wants. And he is right about the book. He introduced me to Nigel last season. I spoke to Nigel about his experience. If you're someone who can't go to games or you haven't been to many games and you want to know what it's like following City home and away for years and years and years, Nigel's your guy, and it's all in that book. I need to get myself a copy too. So you're right to give that a plug. Big up Nigel and big up Steve. So yeah, listen, Steve's channel as well. Go and support him. That'll be down in the description. Big Steve MCFC. Well, you just passed 20k, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm up nearly 21k. Yeah, at Big Steve MCFC. I've not done many streams. I've been on everyone else's stream but my own. But come over there, support me, and listen. I appreciate it. Listen, this is my pilot show, so you need to give it top ratings. Otherwise, the contract, the kebab clause will get wiped out, and I'll be fucked. I'll be on McDonald's with Yui and that. I don't want that. I'm on the kebab. So hit the like button. Let's get the likes up. Come on.
That's it. Smash that like button. If you're watching on playback as well, get down below in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on everything myself and Steve said. Smash a like, subscribe if you're new around here. I'll be back tomorrow with the panel show. Big Steve will be back here, same time, Monday, 6 p.m. And we'll see you all very soon. In a bit, people.